Hello, friends. Welcome once again to AM Online Television 1 with the Great Oracle. Yesterday was a bloody Wednesday on the streets of Nairobi and several counties across that beautiful East African country, Kenya. Thousands, if not millions, of Kenyans poured into the streets of their country to protest against the repressive policies of President Ruto's regime and, of course, call national and global attention to depressing, if not repressing, economic, social, and political conditions in that country. As at the last count last night, if report by the Standard newspaper of Kenya is anything to go by, over 11 Kenyans were murdered in the streets of their country by a government sworn to by the Constitution to protect lives and property of Kenyans. The third liberation, as the protests adopt, highlights some of the conditions Africans face across the length and breadth of the continent. Today, in many countries, whether in East Africa or Southern Africa or West Africa, the democratic and civic spaces have shrunk. Outlets for citizens to express their democratic rights have either been closed off or militarized by civilian rulers. No wonder Kenya showed the gumption, the bravery, and the courage to commemorate 1 year of their protest against Ruto's government. But the situations across countries in Africa are dim, if not dire. Civic spaces have been closed off. Either in Algeria, where the young poet Mohamed Tadjiti is presently in jail for giving thumbs up to a post on military coup, or in Togo, where the very affectionate poet, otherwise known as Affectual Sokbore, is presently in prison. In Cameroon, Maurice Kamto, who leads the Cameroonian Renaissance movement, is presently facing all sorts of harassment from the regime in that country. There's no assurance that he or his party will be allowed to participate in the forthcoming elections in that country, Cameroon. In Tanzania, the Chadema movement, with its leader, is constantly harassed by the regime of President Samia Hassan. Tudu Lusu, in particular, the leader of the Chadema movement, is presently in jail, facing charges for treason against the Tanzanian state, top charge, one would say at this moment. In Nigeria, the repression is not abating. The government is not letting go. Just a few weeks ago, a Nigerian activist in Benin City, in the south region of Nigeria, Maxis Kola, was arrested by the state secret police for planning to organize a street protest in solidarity with the military strongman of Burkina Faso. It's a serious crisis. Citizens are facing in their respective countries across the African continent. As the global world saw yesterday, protesters were tear gassed, shot with live rounds. Several citizens of Kenya, including the young man Victor Odhiambo, were murdered in the streets of their country. Several persons are missing. Their comrades do not know if they are alive or just merely missing or in police custody across police stations in that country. There is something fundamentally wrong with African rulers who have turned poetry into a crime, who have turned the exercise of the freedoms and liberties of citizens into object of state securitization. When you cry against obnoxious economic policies of the government, you are termed an enemy of the state. These and many other tribulations are what citizens on the continent face in their different countries. No wonder today, in many parts of the continent, African youths clap, applaud military coup d'etat, military takeover as an alternative to the repressive civilian rule they've been made to put through by those who wield or pull the levers of power in their different countries. The fundamental point here is this: at what point will Africans say to themselves that no, we can no longer accept this chokehold? Citizens of Kenya have shown African youths examples that are born out of purity of their consciousness, of their desire to be involved in changing the historical directions of their country, and more importantly, the progress and growth of their countries. But African rulers will not let go, as we saw in the street of Kenya yesterday. Razor wires were rolled out. People were beaten with baton and truncheons. Streets were barricaded. And in summary, citizens who were peacefully protesting in the streets of their own country were turned into object of harassment and repression. At some point, there must be an end to the chokehold and to the choke point that these repressive civilian rulers have established in many countries across the African continent. While we celebrate the courage and bravery and gumption of Kenya youths yesterday, we at AM Television on Line 1 send our heartfelt condolences to the families of those who were killed yesterday. May their blood continue to water our tree of freedom. Amen.